Don't Depend on Daddy is an unfiltered safe space, empowering young professionals to build independence in their 20s and beyond, whether it be personal, professional, or financial. Regardless of your age, relationship status, or job title, the most consistent person in your life is you. So join me and let's build our independence together. Enjoy! Hello, and welcome back to Don't Depend on Daddy, the podcast. My name's Michaela. I am your host, and we are back. I'm in Chicago, and yeah, I'm really excited. Today's episode, we are going to be going through my consumption rules for 2025, which I'll give you some of the context on that shortly. But before that, I want to run through some quick housekeeping. First being, thank you for bearing with me last week. This is actually my second time recording this podcast episode, so I hope the audio is fine. If it's not, I'm going to post it anyways. So if the audio sucks, I'm sorry. But basically, I recorded this earlier this week. It's Friday now. And it was before my couch arrived, and I didn't realize that the echo in my apartment was like so horrible. So the audio, it just like I wasn't able to fix it in a way that was good enough to post. And so, yeah, I just decided to skip last week because there was a lot going on. The other thing that I wanted to comment and acknowledge, well, one more thing is because I'm now in this new environment, generally there isn't a lot of noise, but I do live in a city now, so if there is background city noise, I'm sorry. I will do my best to edit it out going forward, but I can't always control if a fire truck goes by my apartment in the middle of a thought. So just keep that in mind also going forward. The other really important thing that I wanted to talk about and acknowledge is obviously the wildfires happening in Los Angeles. I, as you know, just moved just a few months ago. And while it feels like it's been a very long time, it's still very fresh. I have many friends who have been impacted, displaced, families who have lost everything. And I am just devastated over the situation. My heart goes out to the city. I know that goes without saying, but like so many tears have been shed this week just seeing not only the devastation of a part of Los Angeles that I hold very near to my heart. The Palisades was like my safe haven in the city. I loved going over there. I was there all the time. That's where I went hiking. That is where I went to Cafe Lux. Cafe Lux, like, oh my gosh. I know they have other locations, but like that one broke me. And basically everything that I loved about Los Angeles between the Palisades and Malibu, which were, like I mentioned, kind of like my two spots that I would spend so much of my free time on the weekends. Everything, all my favorite places, Chiladas, like all the beach places that we went to, Carbon Beach, that was my favorite, one of my favorite beaches. It's all gone. All my hikes that I love to do in Malibu and in the Palisades, Topanga, like all of these beautiful, not only like physical, geographical locations, but small businesses that I went to very frequently no longer exist, which is a very difficult thing for me to comprehend. And that's not even the half of it, considering all of the people and families and children who have lost their entire lives. So I share all of that just because obviously, like many of you, the world must keep spinning and we still have to go to work and I still have to post content and earn money so that I can live. And yeah, I have been continuing to do that in a way that is appropriate in my mind, keeping in mind the situation. And while I'm not there, it still feels very close, if that makes sense. But I just wanted to acknowledge what's happening and how I feel about it. And just because I continue to move forward in my, new life here doesn't mean that I'm like disregarding, I guess, the situation. I know if you're listening to my podcast, you know me and you understand that, but the internet is a crazy place. So anyways, I will stop rambling about that. Long live LA. I wish her the best, truthfully. And I have nothing else to say about it. I'm just like still heartbroken over it. All that to say, I'm going to get into just like regularly scheduled programming now and going forward. So, as always, personal finance dashboard, you can get $10 off using the code podcast1. That never goes away. I do also want to let you know I am working on, it's done. I just have to kind of like go through the motions of launching it, a more basic budgeting template that is going to be priced much lower than the personal finance dashboard if you are someone who is newer on your financial journey and just looking for something a little more simple and straightforward. It obviously is not going to have all of the bells and whistles, but it will help you get into the practice of managing your money, which I'm excited about. So my goal is to have that up and ready for you before the end of January. But as of course, you can use the code podcast1 if you are looking to get the PFD and you want a little bit of a discount. Second is my Ultimate Financial Reset Masterclass. Those all happened and they were a big hit. So thank you if you joined live. If you registered for the classes and you couldn't join live, you can still go watch the replay. All the replays are posted on Teachable. If you are interested in catching the replay and, watching the class, you can purchase the class, the replay. It's $25, but you can use the code RESET and it will give you 25% off because since it's not a live class, I understand if you wouldn't want to pay a full price. And yeah, those are my two housekeeping things. I'll give you the brief Chicago update. I've moved in, obviously, and I'm in my new apartment, which I don't know if I actually did like a full update on my apartment search. I think I wanted to keep it close to my chest just until I got here to make sure things went off without a hitch or there weren't any issues. But I did choose to move into kind of like an amenity style luxury high rise. It's so crazy because I feel like I've elevated my living space so severely, but my rent went down coming from LA to Chicago, which is interesting. It didn't go down significantly, but like it's just insane to me the way that the markets and cost of living has changed. But I'm in a high rise. So far, it's been 2 weeks, am obsessed with this building and my apartment and the space. It's so incredibly amazing having access to like a gym. My building has a sauna in it. We have co-working spaces. It's just so great. And for example, today, like it's blizzarding out. I'm looking out the window, my floor to ceiling windows to my beautiful city view, which if you follow me on Instagram, you've seen, but it's snowing outside and like, I don't have to go out there. I can go downstairs and go to the gym. I can go sit in the sauna. Like I can do everything that I need to do here, which is fabulous in the winter. In the summer, obviously I'm going to be getting out and about, but for these few weeks of settling in and it being just so cold and whatnot, like living in this kind of building has been fantastic. I will say the move-in did not go off without a hitch because my couch didn't fit. And it's not that the couch wouldn't have fit in the apartment. It's just that the couch wouldn't fit through the hallway around the corner, if that makes sense, to get into the actual unit. And the people in my building did like literally everything they could. We tried the stairwell, we tried everything, and it just wasn't going to fit. So I cut my losses. I sold the couch to one of you, which I'm very happy that I was able to sell my couch at a, significant discount to one of you guys who follows me. That is like my favorite thing to do. Not only because, my goal is to help. If I have to offload something, I want it to go to someone in my community, and I would love to give you the best deal that I can, obviously within reason. So I was able to offload the couch, which was stressful because since it didn't fit in my apartment, there was nowhere for it to go. So the building was like, we can leave this in our storage for like a day. But after that, like it has to get picked up. So I was able to sell it. It was a little bit stressful. And I did have to buy a new couch, unfortunately for me. But fortunately, I ended up going with the Castlery Dawson couch. It was a little bit more expensive than my other couch. My other couch was like $1,500 when I bought it. And this couch was about $2,000. There were a few discounts going, but this is a very similar couch. I love it. It's just a little shorter, a little more, or a little deeper. And it also is modular. So if you're moving into an apartment, I recommend you get a modular couch because it came in 2 pieces, obviously. So it was no problem getting it into my unit. And I went with this one in the modular version, obviously, for a few reasons. One being because I really liked the vibe of my old couch and I wanted to kind of keep that going. but also because since it's modular and since it's like the style that I really like and the style that I will have in future spaces, more likely than not, I can just in the future buy the additional pieces to expand it instead of having to like buy a new couch that fits the space, if that makes sense. So overall, the problem was solved. Big emphasis on if you have your finances together, you can make quick decisions because I had to like decide to sell the couch, pick my price that I was willing to go at and, find a buyer and then buy a new couch and didn't really have a lot of time to deal with it. I obviously could have waited to buy a new couch, but it's hard to live in a space without anywhere to sit. So I wanted to just make the decision and move forward and I was able to do it. And I'm very happy that I had set money aside for my move for these kinds of situations and it was easily solved. So all that to say, when you have your financials in order, when you know your numbers, you can make these quick decisions and it's much less of an issue. I don't want to say it's a non-issue because obviously it was expensive, but it's not something that will cripple me. In a year ago, it would have sent me into an absolute spiral. And I'm very happy that I've taken the time to really repair not only my relationship with my money, but also my relationship with spending and my understanding of the impacts of these things without it being something that can completely derail my mental and emotional state. So, with that, I'm going to get into the juice of today's episode, which is a discussion around consumption and my consumption rules for 2025. So, the whole idea of consumption rules started originally when I went through my move because I was absolutely shocked at the amount of boxes that I had and also just how cumbersome the entire packing process was. I felt like in my apartment in LA, I was living in a space that was larger. And so it didn't feel like I had a lot of things because I didn't have a ton of like bulky furniture. The space felt not bare, but it definitely didn't feel full, and I that was intentional because I knew I wasn't going to be staying there forever. And when I put everything in the boxes and saw it in a different way, I was absolutely shocked because I purged and donated a ton of items before I even went through the process of packing. And even still, I felt like I packed up way too much stuff. And it was just like a really jarring experience. So, fast forward to December, I was home and, trying to fill my time. And I watched the Buy Now documentary on Netflix. And this is all about overconsumption and Amazon and where all of our stuff goes when we throw it away, the what is away, right? And so this documentary was kind of trying to explain that. And that was really the nail in the coffin for me about really wanting to not only reduce the items that I currently own, but really not purchase any unnecessary items going forward. And given the phase of life I'm in, like I know I'm going to have to move again, hopefully not next year, but maybe the year after. I don't know. I don't know what my life will look like a year from now. And it could be to a new apartment, it could be to a place I own, it could be potentially with another person. And I just want to be as mobile as I possibly can be and just not have so much stuff because stuff to me is an anchor. And well, I like to have, nice things, which I've talked about in my State of the Union episode, if you want to go listen to that. I don't want to have a lot of things, if that makes sense. So every year, I basically set an overarching financial theme for the calendar year. And last year, my theme was really to start up leveling my wardrobe and just like the things that I owned overall. So the theme was to buy less, but to buy better. And I really did this. But that being said, I bought a lot more than I feel like I needed to. And it was definitely a self-discovery year of figuring out my style, which I think is still a work in progress, and figuring out what's worth it and what isn't when it comes to my clothes. And I feel like I just bought a lot of clothes without necessarily thinking about how they fit the gaps within my wardrobe. It was more like, oh, these are high quality clothes that I'll get a lot of wear out of. But it's like, okay, now I have potentially like a lot of similar things and I kind of need to diversify to round out my wardrobe, if that makes sense. So part of what I'm doing in January is wearing the clothes that I have so that I can figure out what those gaps even are. So, all that to say, this year, My overarching theme for the year is to just buy less and be even more intentional, like significantly more intentional about what I'm purchasing in general. I don't want to have a ton of items. I don't want to be accumulating unnecessary stuff. And I don't want to have junk drawers or junk bins, which I don't really have a junk drawer in my apartment. I never have. But, I have, bins that are in the closet with things that necessarily don't have a place. So I kind of want to really work through eliminating that. And I just don't want to have stuff that I don't use all the time. So, with that, I have created some consumption rules that I'm going to be following this year and going forward forever to hold myself accountable and really make sure that I'm not buying useless stuff and that I'm not accumulating things. And these are guidelines, they're not going to be hard rules. They're just rules of thumb for different areas of my spending to help with those impulse decisions and just like the day to day spending decisions of do I need or want this? So, to be clear, I'm not doing a no buy, which again, if you listen to my State of the Union, I don't believe in no buys, at least for extended periods. I understand if you need to do like a financial reset in January or you're working towards a very specific goal, so you are not buying things for a defined period of time, but a year is a long time. I don't think it's realistic for most people. And I do plan to make purchases this year when I need something. And like I mentioned, I like nice things. So my goal is to identify the gaps specifically with my wardrobe because those are kind of like the purchases I'll be making. I don't really need anything else. And I'm not going to deny myself, but I am going to be incredibly thoughtful about it. So even though I feel like I was intentional last year, I really can't get over how much stuff I have. And I also can't get over how many clothes I have that I'm not reaching for all the time. So with that, these are my 2025 consumption rules. And these are broken up by popular spending categories for me that I identified in 2024 as I went through the process of like auditing my 2024 finances, identifying those areas of improvement that I need to focus on, not just necessarily reducing, but like better aligning for my true values and like my life now that I'm in a different city and the things that I'm doing are a little bit different. So the areas that I am going to talk about might not make sense for your situation. So I want you to think about what the categories or areas of spending are that are, I guess, more challenging for you or areas where you want to reduce or cut back or just be more intentional and think through consumption rules in, a way that makes sense for your life. So with that, like I said, overarching theme is to just buy less. And the categories I have here, the big overarching categories are clothes, beauty, home decor. And then I have a few just like spending rules guidelines for travel and restaurants to help better optimize and segment my spending, if that makes sense. So we'll start with clothes. My first spending rule is around material composition. So material composition is the most important thing to me when it comes to a clothing purchase. This is going to be the driving factor for any clothing purchase that I make going forward in 2025 and beyond, because basically for 95% of what I'm going to be buying in the future, the exception being some workout clothes where necessary because non-natural and like synthetic materials are important in certain things. I really want material composition in my clothing to be natural. And I am going to do a whole episode on this. I have it all scripted out. I'm going to record it right after this, so it'll come up next week. But basically, my goal is to curate a wardrobe of high quality basics made of natural materials like cotton, linen, wool, cashmere. And the reason is because not only do these materials wear better, but they last longer and they are a better bang for your buck. So the ROI on these clothes is just better. A lot of clothes that you are buying at, big name brand stores, not all, but many, are made of polyester or other synthetic materials, and they are priced at a premium. Many are priced exactly the same, sometimes higher, or very, very small amount lower than their counterparts made of 100% natural materials that are just better quality overall. And to me, if I'm going to be spending money on something like over $100. Like a sweater costs over $100, whether it's made of acrylic or not. Or jeans. Many jeans cost like $70 to even $200. And sometimes they're not even made out of cotton. And that cotton is what denim is. So if I'm going to be spending money on something, I don't want to be spending money on something that's cheaply made and something that is made with synthetic materials that just has like a brand name slapped onto it, because a lot of times too, we associate brand names and price with quality, and that's just not real at all, especially if you're looking at the tags. I want the money that I'm spending on clothes to be on clothes that are high quality. I want them to last a long time. I want them to look nice. Maybe that means I have to take a little bit of care towards them. Like, for example, I'm wearing right now, if you're watching on YouTube, a wool sweater. And like these sweaters do require a little bit of care. Like you have to have a fabric shaver and, a lint roller to sort of keep them together. And that kind of sounds bad, but like the care you're taking makes them look better over a long period of time. Or like an acrylic sweater, for example, even if you have a fabric shaver, like it's not going to solve the problem, if that makes sense. It's not going to make the item look better. So I'm not throwing any clothes away or donating any clothes or anything. I'm still going to wear the clothes that I have, even if they're made of non-natural materials, because I've already bought them, right? And until they're at a place where they're not wearable, then I'm going to continue to wear them. I'm not going to like do a full overhaul, obviously. But going forward, when I make a new purchase, I am going to be paying attention to the material composition. My next consumption rule for clothes is 1 in, 1 out. And this is because I have enough. My closet is full. And I feel like if I introduce more options to my closet, it's going to be harder for me to actually get use out of the clothes that I'm buying, right? So if I want something new, something else has to go. And I really need to be very intentional about this. I don't want to accumulate more things. I am not buying any more hangers. And I'm going to start being really ruthless about keeping things and creating like a regular donation bag. So at the end of every month, if there are clothes in my closet that, are seasonal, that maybe I'm not gravitating towards, or I'm putting on and I'm taking off and hanging back out because I don't like the way they look on me or the way they fit, like I'm going to donate them or sell them if that's what makes more sense. I don't want my closet to be stuffed to the brim. And everything I bring into this space has to leave at some point. So I don't want to be bringing more in so that I leave with more things. If anything, when I leave this apartment, I want to be leaving with less. So 1 in, 1 out. The number of items in my closet is not going to grow this year. And last is I really am aiming to make only 12 purchases this year at the absolute maximum or minimum 1 clothing item per month. I don't know how that's going to unfold. I don't know if there are going to be things that I need to replace, but as of now, like I really don't need anything. I don't need to be doing monthly hauls. Like, not that I ever really do hauls, but even if I don't post about it, like if I'm ordering things, I just don't need to be doing that. But I'm in a winter city climate compared to the climate in LA was not cold and not a city in this sense. So style was different, temperature was different, the things that you needed were just different. So I know that there are going to be things that come up that I need. I have a lot of coats, but like might need some different shoes. I might need another sweater. Like I'm wearing my sweaters every single day. So I just might need to add one more thing to my rotation, if that makes sense. And I'm not going to deny myself that, but I am going to be thoughtful about it. And when you give yourself like 1 clothing item per month, it's like, is this the one that I really need and want? You think about it a little bit differently. So when I make the purchases, they will be calculated and that they'll count as my monthly clothing purchase. And that's that. And I'm excited about this because, again, I'm trying to fill gaps in my closet and I'm trying to really learn my style and learn how to piece together outfits. And I'm posting all of my outfits on LTK when I am putting together like my work from home outfits, or if I'm going out and doing something. I have a couple of like dinner drink outfits up there. I have a few work from home outfits just from this week, wearing the clothes that I have in my closet. And it's fun. It's challenging for me because it's just so out of my comfort zone, not only for just like day to day, because I feel like I always used to just wear, workout clothes, but also from a content standpoint too. Like I'm really pushing myself to diversify the type of content I share and provide more applicable financial tips, because I know a lot of you, especially if you're listening to the podcast, like you kind of have the basics down and you're looking for more of those, how do I take this and apply it to my actual life? And everybody's getting dressed every day. I feel like, especially with social media, people are thinking about style and fashion and the clothes they're buying and whatnot. And so I kind of want to share my own perspective on that as someone who is financially conscious, but I also want to look nice, and I'm figuring out what my style is and how to wear my clothes and whatnot. So I am sharing all of that on LTK. If you have LTK, follow me. And all my links, I post them on my stories when I can. I have them saved to like my story highlights and whatnot. So those are my clothing spending or consumption guidelines. Now let's move into beauty. So beauty is one of those categories where I feel like my situation is unique in that sometimes I get sent things specifically from Paula's Choice because I have my girl there. Her name's Maddie, and we communicate. And when I need something, like she sends it to me. And I will say that is like, I've accomplished a lot in my online, business, whatever, which I don't want to downplay, but having an in at my favorite skincare brand is the best thing that's ever happened to me. So I don't mean to brag, but it really changed my life. Like, it's so nice. But that being said, sometimes, I get sent stuff that maybe I didn't necessarily need, or, I do, now that I talk about my skin on TikTok, like I kind of do get a good amount of PR sent to me. Not a ton, but like I'm set up on Shop My, and that's kind of how they send you stuff. And I have a big goal this year to like use up what I have, because I have so much skincare and I really want to get through it. And I love skincare, and it's kind of nice because I don't feel like I have to ration things. Like I can kind of use whatever I need on my skin, which is great. But from a product standpoint, I am doing Project Pan. So that's kind of rule number one. Project Pan, use up what I have. And I'm also collecting my empties. So when I run out of something, I have a little bin that I'm putting them in, because I think it's really interesting to see, like, A, what did you use up? And B, when you're looking back and reflecting on it, like, is this something I want to repurchase? Was this worth it? Or is it something that, I liked it, I used it, but I don't need to have another one? So if I open something and I don't like it, I am working on finding a way to repurpose it. So an immediate example of this is I bought a conditioner from Pantene because when I moved here, I didn't have any shampoo or conditioner, and everyone on TikTok was talking about Pantene. And I actually use a L'Oreal at home. I don't use expensive shampoo and conditioner because I don't know, like, where do we draw the line, right? I'd rather spend that money on skincare, although moving here, I had to get a shower filter and stuff because the water just completely ruined my hair. The water combined with this horrible conditioner. It just was terrible. I dried my hair and I'm like, what on earth is going on? And so instead of throwing that away, it wasn't expensive. It was like $5 or $6. I should have known, but instead of throwing it away, I'm going to repurpose it and use it for shaving, because I always like to shave with conditioner instead of shaving cream because it's like more moisturizing. I don't know. My mom taught me how to shave when I was like a child by doing that, and I've just kind of always done it. So I'm going to use it as, shaving cream. It'll get used, but now I know, like, I'm not going to repurchase that. So that's a classic example of like using what I have before I go and rebuy something. I did buy a different conditioner, obviously, that was essential, but I'm going to be using up what I have. Next is I am not opening new products until the similar product I already have that's open is used. So for example, I probably have right now like 4 moisturizers open for my face. Why am I doing that? Like, yes, I have different moisturizers for different things, but I don't need to have so many open. Like, I can use up a moisturizer before I open up another one. And I think that's the challenge with like when you want to try things or if you get sent things, but I just don't need to be doing that. So I'm going to be using up products that I have open before I open the new one, so that A, they don't go bad, and B, so that I actually get to the bottom of things. Because also when you have tons of things open, it takes forever to finish them up. And if I want to actually finish things up, then I need to change my behavior with opening things too. And the last thing here is I'm not going to be hoarding products. So a thing that happened in LA is I would go to Costco. I don't know why, as a person living alone, like I would ever go to Costco. I really, it was for like toilet paper and paper towels, but I don't have the space in here anymore to like store those. So I can't really do big Costco hauls. But I would end up buying like huge tubs of lotion and like 1,000 razors. Like I just don't need to do that. And so I have drawers that are full of stuff and like, yes, I will use it, but it's just unnecessary. So I don't want to be hoarding any types of products. So it goes for like buying things in bulk. I don't need to be doing that. But also like if I receive any type of product, I'm not going to use it or it's not something that I like I'm not going to keep it for a later date. For example, like I got sent, I don't know, like 10 blushes, cream blushes from YSL, which I don't ask me how I ended up on that PR list. I haven't gotten anything from them in a while and they don't have my new address, but I probably won't get anything from them again. But they sent me so many makeup blushes and I'm like, it will take me a lifetime to get through just one of these because they're so pigmented. And so I was like, maybe I'll save them, like I'll use them in the future. I decided to give them obviously to my friends, my sister, because it's like, why do I need all of these? I don't need 10 of these. I only need one, maybe two. I need a winter shade and I need a summer shade. And so I'm trying to be kind of like ruthless about that as well. Same goes for skincare. Like if I get a skincare product and I try it for a few times and I don't like it, like I have friends that will use that. Or if it's a product from a brand and I know I'm not going to use it, because sometimes too, you'll get a PR package and they'll include some miscellaneous things. And if it's something I'm not going to use, like I'm giving it away. I can either donate it, I can give it to my friends, but I'm not keeping it. So those are my beauty rules because I just don't want to have duplicates of things. I don't want to have stuff sitting in my cabinets and I don't want it to go bad and then end up getting wasted. Moving on to decor home stuff. I'll fly through this because it's not really exciting. I just moved, obviously, and I had to buy a couch, but I don't need anything else in my apartment. It's kind of insane, especially because this apartment is small. Like, I don't have surfaces for decor, if that makes sense. And that's not to say it's like so bare in here, but there just isn't a lot of space to put things necessarily. So I'm not buying any new home decor. Really, the two exceptions are candles. So I don't light candles. I have a candle warmer, and it takes a lot longer for candles to burn with a candle warmer, obviously. So if I think I have three candles in my apartment, one currently being burned, one that's not fully done, and one that's new that was sent to me. Until I'm through all of those, I'm not buying any more candles, but I will buy a new candle when I need it. And I also have to get some art for above my couch. I already know what I'm going to do. My mom is a photographer. She takes photos on Cape Cod. So I'm going to get one of her photos, but I have to get that framed. So like that's going to be the only like decor thing. I don't want to have any clutter. I don't want to have stuff out. And again, everything I bring in, I have to take out of here again. And it was just such a bitch to pack all of the glass decor and vases and bowls and things. Like I don't need any more. I can use what I already have. And then also related to home stuff, I really want to donate and sell items that I'm not using and aim to do this again once a month. So if there is a decor piece or something collecting dust or it's in my closet and I haven't found a spot for it, I am just going to donate it because none of the decor that I've purchased is super expensive. Like it's all just from Home Goods and stuff from Home Goods isn't expensive. It's like $20, $25. So in a future space, if it's something that I need or miss, I can always just go out and replace it. You know, like it's not a big deal and it could probably find a better home somewhere else. So I'm going to aim to really do that. And this doesn't just apply to decor. It applies to like stuff sitting around. So throw blankets. I think like 6 or 7 of them. Why? I only need one, maybe two if I have somebody over. Like I don't need to have so many things. Books, I actually donated, I think like 20 books to the library around the corner for me on Monday. That felt amazing. So just stuff like even furniture that I brought from my apartment in LA. I had to sell my couch, obviously. I've already gone through that. But I also have to sell my table chairs, which I was hanging on to those because I really wanted to find a space where I could have my tables and chairs. But it just doesn't fit in this apartment, unfortunately, and that is okay. And so I was kind of emotionally attached to it just because it's really cute. But I ended up finding one of you guys who follows me, who is buying it for me, and it'll be in a nice home. I give her a good deal. I feel good about it. And if in my next apartment, if I have space for a table and chairs, like I'll be buying a different set and I will live. So, yeah, I'm really trying to get rid of things because, again, this whole moving process, even though I had movers, it just felt so cumbersome and it was so eye opening about how much stuff I have just as an individual person. It's just so unnecessary. And I really want to pare down my things again with the hope that the next time I move, I am moving with someone and we would be combining things. And so I don't want to be coming to the table with all this stuff. Anyways, those are my decor home things. I'm going to quickly fly through this travel restaurant. So for travel, my goal is to focus on non-flying trips just because I want to go on like road trips around the Midwest. I don't know a ton about this area of the country. I've heard that like Michigan and the lakes are like fabulous. So I'm excited to go and I don't have to fly to do that. So I really want to focus on non-flying trips to also just reduce the travel spend. I spent a lot of money on travel last year, and I'm also doing a big trip to Japan, which is going to be my like big trip for this decade. Like I don't really like big huge trips to be completely honest. But I'm doing this trip with my mom and that's going to be my big flying trip. So my goal is to focus on non-flying weekend trips. Second is from a tracking standpoint, I'm going to be separating out personal travel and home travel. Home travel is obviously personal, but like, I spent a lot of money flying back and forth to go back to Massachusetts. And it's hard to decipher how much I spent on that versus how much I spent on like trips for myself. So I'm breaking that out in my PFD to just get a better sense of what I'm spending on what. And I think even though that's not necessarily like a consumption rule, it's more of a like insights rule that I think will be helpful. And the last thing is I'm going to be using up my points because I have a tendency to hoard them and they're there for a reason. Like I want to use my points to help me save more and spend less on my travel. And I'm going to be using them all up as I earn them. Like I don't need to be spending $300-$400 on a plane ticket if I have the points. Like it doesn't make any sense. So those are my travel like guidelines. And then for restaurants and going out, this is a little bit harder just because since I'm in a winter city, Chicago is also like a big foodie city. I know I'm going to be going out to eat a lot more here than I was doing in LA. And that's totally fine, especially because I'm readjusting some of my other spending too. But I'm aiming to do like one night out per week for eating, like going out to a restaurant. And then I'm aiming to do, if I am going to do takeout, which I know I'm going to be doing here, only on Fridays and only if I don't already have food in my fridge that has to get eaten up. Because this is something that I struggled with a lot in LA is I would order takeout on Fridays. That was kind of like my ritual. I'd do a walk, I'd get takeout, I'd come home, I'd watch a show. Like it was honestly the best. And I'd like to continue doing that here in whatever way, shape, or form it comes to be. But as a result, I would have food from the week that I didn't eat that would go bad and it would ultimately go to waste. And I really want to avoid wasting any food and unnecessarily buying food out just because I'm being lazy. So if it's a Friday and I've gone through my groceries for the week and I'm staying in, I will order takeout. But those thresholds have to be met for me to do that. And so I think just adding in those hurdles will make me, again, a lot more intentional about spending money on food because I just don't always think that spending, like, it's just not how I want to be spending my money, if that makes sense. So those are my two quick little restaurants going out consumption guidelines. I would imagine in the summertime, this is going to change. And that kind of brings up a good point of consumption rules. Like these are my overall guidelines for 2025, but everything sort of changes seasonally. And the winter is a period of time where especially Q1, where I feel like I spend less compared to, or even the first half of the year compared to the back half of the year, where it's like you're in the thick of summer and then it's the holidays. So yeah, it's okay if you like set guidelines or rules or whatever, and you find that they change as the weather changes because you do different things when the weather is different, right? So overall, those are my consumption rules. I'm excited about this and I feel really good about it. And I also love this topic. So I would love to hear your consumption rules. Send me a DM. Make sure you're following the Don't Depend on Daddy Instagram. I am really working on being more consistent over there. And also, if you are not watching on YouTube, please make sure you watch on YouTube or at least subscribe to my YouTube channel because if TikTok goes away, YouTube is going to be where I'm at. And I hope you enjoyed this episode, and I will catch you in the next one.